Thank you for joining us for the interview portion of the Data Speaks competition, created in partnership with RFG 2018 and Sequent. I'm Anna, a project geologist at Sequent, and I am joined today by Jenifer from the University of British Columbia. So Jenifer, your original abstract title was Microbial Communities in Exposed Soils from Hydraulic Fracturing Sites. What is your revised abstract title?
So my revised abstract title is the effects of hydraulic fracturing on soil microbial communities.
Awesome. So what question are you trying to answer?
So hydraulic fracturing is a gas extraction method that uses large volumes of liquid known as frac fluid, and it inserts it into shale at high pressures to extract this gas. Unfortunately, we don't know the full environmental impact of hydraulic fracturing yet. And so my first question is actually, how does hydraulic fracturing impact soil microbial communities? And I actually have a second question I'm trying to answer too. And so if it does impact soil microbial communities, are there certain bacteria that kind of act as red flags or identifiers to say that we are exposed to hydraulic fracturing for future research?
Great, that sounds really interesting. So what concept does somebody need to know to understand your research?
Well, microbes are everywhere. So everywhere we've sampled, from the deep ocean to the upper levels of the atmosphere, we found microbes. And unfortunately, the actions that humans have dire consequences on the microbial communities. And these microbes are actually responsible for the processes that have led to today's habitable Earth. And so hydraulic fracturing also impacts these microbial communities. And because we don't know how these microbial communities are impacted, we really need to learn a lot more in order to be better researched in our practices.
Yeah, that makes sense. What role does data play in your research?
So when I'm analyzing my soil samples, trying to figure out who's there and to what capacity, I perform something called DNA sequencing. And DNA sequencing generates vast amounts of data, and I use this data to answer the following questions. So I answer what microbes are there, how many microbes are there, and what's the relative abundance of certain microbes to other microbes. And so when I compare pristine soils and these exposed or contaminated soils to hydraulic fracturing, I can figure out whether or not hydraulic fracturing does have an impact on the soils. And further, I can also begin to identify through statistical and data analysis what these red flags or these identifiers are in the soils.
Right, okay. And why is it important for you to share your data and your research?
Well, the first step towards the solution is acknowledging that there's a problem. So my data has shown that hydraulic fracturing does have an impact on soil microbial communities. And further, I have been able to identify these microbes that act as these identifiers. And so in the future, I'd like to use these microbes as bioremediators, so to help remove these hydrocarbons that are in the soils and revert the soils back to the natural state. However, I can't do this alone. So being able to share my data with other people, not just academics, but policymakers, businesses, corporations, as well as the general public, will allow us to put our heads together and really come up with a holistic solution, because knowledge is the key, and yeah, a holistic solution is what we need, and we need to all join together to be able to answer it.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today, Jenifer. Once again, this is the Data Speaks competition, created in partnership with RFG 2018 and Sequent. Watch the videos on YouTube or Twitter, #CDataSpeak.